Here's our last installment of Chapter 19. It's 19.3. How can we slow climate change? Fun fact, dolphins, in their little cute squeaks that they make, they have names for each other. That was Joe. I just named Joe. Here's Samantha. They have names. It's impressive. I don't know why we think we're the only ones who, only animals on this planet that are like really complex or intelligent. Apparently other animals are as well. So that's cool. Dolphins have that going for them. Why it's difficult to deal with climate change? Because it's a global issue affecting everybody and it's very political. That's the problem right there. It's very political. And everyone wants to get involved in it and say their piece, and you know what I mean? So it's hard to discuss. It's like one of those things, you know, they say the things you don't talk about, you know, with family and friends is religion and politics. Well, you know, climate change fits into that as well. The negative impacts are not spread evenly. If we are feeling or we're going to feel the impacts of climate change as bad as, say, like the country Tuvalu, which is a Pacific island nation that will be completely submerged underwater in the next 30 years, yeah, we would probably be a little upset about it too, and we'd probably be talking about it a little bit more. But Tuvalu is not a very wealthy country. They don't have an army, and we really don't care about them from a developed nation point of view. So that's why we don't really discuss it that much, right? So if it was shared evenly, the problems, then we would discuss it more. And we're scared to disrupt the economies. Now, I do have to agree with this. Nobody wants to go back to 2008. Ask your parents. That was not a fun time to be in when we had the Great Recession. So with the economies of the world just barely moving along, people are very scared to do anything about climate change and take a big step forward because they're scared to, you know, wreck the economy. And if you just lost your home and had a hard time putting food on the table or had to go on food stamps like a lot of people had to in the United States during the Great Recession, you'd feel that way too. So I do understand that. Let's see, how can we slow climate change? And these are all self-explanatory. Increase efficiency. Voila. Switch over to renewable energies. Lower carbon emitting fuels. Yeah. Stop deforestation. That would be good. And then capture and store carbon. How do we capture and store carbon, right? Remember that a better term for capturing carbon dioxide is sequester, right? So we know trees sequester it, according to the lab that we did a couple weeks ago. So we could sequester it. We could plant more forests. There's also people working on equipment that will sequester carbon, liquefy it, and then pump it deep into deep underground, even sometimes into the ocean, like deep cracks underneath the ocean. So there's a lot of things being talked about. What is being done? Some are advocating a switch from income tax to a personal carbon tax. So we all have a carbon footprint, and you guys all calculated yours. So you pay your taxes based on how much carbon you emit into the atmosphere. Cap and trade. This is currently being done in certain areas of the world and discussed greatly in the United States, where each country is allowed, just like, because we already do this for certain quantities of pollution. See you later. We are only allowed to emit a certain amount of pollution, right? So they're talking about doing it for carbon. Each company is allowed to emit a certain amount of carbon, and if you exceed that, then you either are fined or you have to buy permits from another company that doesn't use all of theirs, okay? Governments use subsidies, meaning money, take government money and use it to incentivize companies lowering their carbon footprint. Maybe help them buy equipment that would do it for them that they can't afford, or whatever the case may be. And then here's the biggest thing: developing countries. Remember, 18% of the world lives in a developed country. 18. That means 82% of the people on the planet live in a developing or third world country that does not yet have infrastructure that we have. They don't have cars and TVs and all the stuff that you guys have. When they do, another 82% living the way we do, there's no way we have the resources for that right now unless we change how we're getting these resources and how we're building them and getting rid of them. And we cannot handle all that CO2. So they're saying, don't let them reinvent the wheel as you're going along. Let's take this technology and give it to them. So that way as they develop, they do it much cleaner and much better than we ever did. But they can still develop and raise the standard of living for their people who live in those countries, right? So, Kyoto Protocol happened in 1997, December 97, so remember that date. It involved 161 nations. That's how many showed up. 174 ratified what came out of the Kyoto Protocol, and the United States did not. Why did the United States not ratify it? Because we were scared that if we ratified the Kyoto Protocol, then we would slow down our economy and we would be overtaken, sorry, burning fart, by China. And we do not want to become, and still don't, as far as the political arena feels, we don't want to become second to China. So we did not want to do this in fear that it would slow our economy and allow China to surpass us. 36 developed countries, for this to work, 36 developed countries would reduce their CO2 emissions to 5.6% lower than their 1990 levels of CO2. They had to do this by 2012. Some countries made it, some did not. Because of the global recession, a lot of countries were not able to continue their participation for fear of slowing their economy further. Others reached it merely on the fact that because the economy sucked, people weren't buying stuff, weren't driving around, factories were cut offline. So because the economy sucked, there's no industry operating, so the CO2 levels went down. And as soon as the recession started to go away a little bit, the CO2 levels went back to normal, and a lot of countries missed it. Developing countries were omitted, like China, because everyone said, well, it's not fair for the developing countries to have to abide by this when they haven't emitted any CO2 yet in the first place. It's us, the developing countries. It's us, the developed countries, that have emitted this CO2, so we should be the ones at the forefront to make that change. And that is all. Thank you for coming. Thank you for shopping at Pooler Mart.